Alright, so I recently watched 28 Years Later. Everyone I know seems to love the movie, and I need a place to vent about it. I think this is a perfect place for it. It's probably one of the worst movies I've seen in a really long time. It's directed by a guy named Danny Boyle. He's a pretty well-known British director. He kind of reminds me of Sean Locke, which is a British comedy actor. He used to be on a game show called Countdown, but anyways, it doesn't really matter right now. So Danny Boyle, he's the original director for the other 28 movies, and he's pretty well known. He won a bunch of awards, including a BAFTA, which I feel like it just should be a time expiration for those awards, because if you mess up really bad, you should need to return it, because man, it would make them think twice. So I watched the trailer for the movie, and the trailer actually seemed pretty interesting. Which is kind of rare. Most of the trailers nowadays, when you watch a movie, just gives way too much away, and you don't even need to watch a movie anymore. But this trailer was actually well done. It kind of loses its uniqueness after a little bit, but it was still pretty good. Now, for me, if a horror movie is to be good, the characters have to have some sort of intelligence. It's extremely important, especially in a movie about survival and overcoming a global infection, where they need to use their head to figure out how to survive, figure out how to manage resources, balance risk and reward, and just things like that in general. This movie unfortunately has zero of that, and when a movie is like that, I tend to cheer for the bad guys of the movie, or the movie just kind of turns into comedy, seeing who can make a more stupid decision than the previous person, but I'll get into that a bit later. The movie starts with another extremely non-original or interesting thing that movies and games have been doing recently, which is you take an established movie, which already has a following or a fan base, and if you want to make a sequel or a prequel or anything like that, you just slap a kid into it, and there you go. It's been happening like crazy, and I'm getting really tired of it. It's getting way out of hand, and it's just lazy. So these survivors survived, 28 years in the post-apocalyptic world, where you struggle for survival, you struggle for food, for water. There's no medical assistance other than people who are trained on the go during the apocalypse, and since most of the civilizations have fallen and society is in shambles, it's pretty hard to get any kind of help. The survivors of our movie managed to settle on a small island, which is closed off by the tide. So the way it works is there's a small pathway which gets swallowed by the sea, and when the ebb happens, the path is revealed, and they can venture on into the mainland. The survivors seem pretty self-sufficient, having animals on the island and food. They also have bowyers, and they train kids how to use bows and make arrows, which is pretty smart thing to do, since they can make new bows and arrows pretty easily. It's also a pretty stealthy weapon for hunting or, taking care of the infected silently. And that's probably the best part of the movie, to be honest. The only logical or smart thing that makes actual sense. Now, a little rundown of the movie. There's gonna be some spoilers, so if you haven't watched it, just stay here because it's not worth your fucking time. You're better off just spending your time learning what's so horrible about it than actually wasting your time watching it like I did. The movie starts with a family, mom, son, and father. The mom has some sort of an illness. We don't know what it is yet, and the kid just turned 12. They have a tradition where a child hits 12 years old, they venture off into the mainland to experience, what the world is really like, and the mainland also has infected on them. It's kind of like a rite of passage. It's pretty interesting so far, cool idea. So we have our duo, they venture off into the mainland, and after traveling for a while, they spot an infected, which looks like a Reddit moderator. He's just kind of like crawling around the dirt and leaves and branches looking for worms, because apparently that's what they eat, and they keep that girth somehow. Plenty of deer around. They probably can't catch them because they're so, fat, so I guess worms keep them that size, I guess. Not sure how that works, but alright. So since the kid has never been on the mainland or fought an infected before, this seemed like a perfect opportunity to get his first kill. The dad suggests that to the boy, and they get onto it. He draws his bow, aiming at the infected, and he takes a shot. But before that happens, the camera angle switches, and we see in the background of the kid and the dad, there's another infected, like 2 footsteps away from them. It's a massive infected, just like the one they're looking at. He's crawling around the leaves, branches, twigs, crawling towards them, making noise, but they don't hear it, right? So they don't hear it at all. He's just kind of chilling there, crawling towards them. So that's the first thing that really pissed me off about it. It just makes no sense for them not to hear it. It's a thing that writers do where actors just lose senses to make a scene intense. which is it's just stupid. It's not really intense, it's just bad. Like, it's funny. Like, how can you not hear him? He's right behind you, crawling in the leaves, in the twigs, making noise. So the kid takes a shot, he shoots him in the neck or whatever, it doesn't matter. So they venture off into the mainland. They find an abandoned house. It looks pretty damaged, pretty old, and they decide to check it out. And this is where another thing happens that extremely pissed me off is, so keep in mind, these people are the dad. He's been through a lot of these excursions. He's obviously a smart dude that can survive out here. Yeah, they kept the civilization going for a long time. They still didn't figure out how to make a spear or how to make, I don't know, a wooden plank to push the infected away from them if they get closer, because what they do next is they clear the entire house with bows, which is extremely stupid. You can't draw a bow fully in a house, especially a house that narrow. And if you do manage to draw it, moving around is absolutely horrendous. You're not going to be able to go through doorways. If you do go through doorways, you're going to have to draw your bow, then undraw it, and then draw it again, and it's just a pain. You can just get a stick, sharpen it, and poke them in the head, because that's pretty much what arrows are, just little spears that you can shoot. Like, spears have been used since caveman times, and these people still didn't think to make one, which just doesn't make any sense. Like, if there's some kind of a zombie apocalypse, like, a spear is the easiest weapon you can get. It's just a sharpened stick, and that's it. A bow and arrow might be good for, like, deer or something that won't charge at you, but if you have infected, you can take a shot with them, sure, with a bow and arrow if you have enough room, and then, you know, if they get close, you switch to a spear, poke them, and there you go, they're dead. No, not wait till they get really close, miss, and then you're just gonna die. Another thing that happens is that every time there's a shot with an infected dying, they do this weird angle change where the camera kind of shifts behind the infected getting shot. It kind of slows down. It looks like something from a Bollywood movie, and it's really, really bad. I really don't like it. It does not fit at all. So inside the house, there is a body tied by its feet onto the ceiling. He's obviously dead. There's like a bag over his head, and there's a name written on there. It doesn't really matter. So what do you think our amazing expert survivors do? Do they A, kill the infected as soon as possible so there's no risk of it falling down or making noise attracting other infecteds? B, do they leave silently as soon as possible? Or C, they stay there and talk about it for like 5 minutes until he starts screaming and drops down and alerts, is possible alerting other infected or attacking them? Because if you guess C, you guessed right, that's what happens. They just stand there and talk about it, and Dad's like, look at him, dude, you need to look at his dead body. So that's, again, it's not scary, it's not intense, it's just like, we can't do anything better, so here, eat this, and that's what we're dealt with. So after that, they loot the house, they go venturing off into the woods, they find a carcass of a deer, the deer's head is put up in the tree, and the dad has enough experience to figure out that it's a sign of an alpha being around, which is a new infected. They add into this hellhole of a movie, and they're pretty much same as infected, they're just stronger and smarter, and the other infected kind of listen to them a bit more. So they get spotted, there's a small fight, obviously they're using bows, so the kid does shit because he can't aim. They enter the same house as before. After being chased by those infected, they find an attic, and again, they're shooting bows indoors, which is stupid. That really pissed me off. Like, that's probably one of the things that pissed me off the most. They don't even have a shield that they can like push him back or anything like that. So they manage to get up into the attic. They hide in there for a while, and they look at the tree where they first spotted the alpha before, and he's still kind of waiting there for them. Nighttime arrives, they see a light in the distance, and the kid asks the dad, what's that light? And the dad says something like, I don't know. And the kid asks him, have you been there? And the dad's like, no. The kid asks, what is it? That's, I don't know. And that's pretty much the entire scene. It made me laugh. It was really fucking bad. It's just a setup for something later on in the movie. Just bad writing. So something happens which I haven't seen in the movie before, so I guess that's unique. A stampede of deer happened to run... Deer? Or is it deers? A stampede of deers, let's say, happens to run by the house, and the chimney collapses because that's just something that deer and chimneys do. It's kind of like a symbiotic relationship, I guess, and they have to run out of the house. They're being chased by the alpha, and only the alpha for some reason. It's convenient, I guess, and they start to be chased down. So they end up going back towards the settlement. And as they're going back towards the settlement, they're being chased by the Alpha we saw before, and only the Alpha. I don't know why or where the others went, but yeah, I guess it's just convenient. So they're starting to get chased down, and they get closer and closer to the gates. They start yelling for help. The people in the guard tower are sleeping naturally, because that's what you do when you're guarding a bunch of people in a zombie apocalypse. You just sleep in the tower, and they start yelling. They start screaming. The guards wake up and hop into a ballista, which they have. This kind of reminded me from something from Lord of the Rings. They shoot the Alpha. He falls. He gets back up. They shoot him again. And that's when the Alpha drops dead. They have a big celebration for returning. It's considered a successful trip because they both didn't die. And after it, the dad hooks up with some chick, and the kid sees it. His mom is sick, and he's kind of upset by his dad for doing that. So he decides to take his mom to the doctor he heard about. The 12-year-old kid tricks the guards that were napping in the tower before by setting like a little fire in the settlement. The guards get outsmarted by a 12-year-old kid, because of course, and he gets to just waltz out of the settlement with his mom. She's kind of scared, doesn't really know what's going on, and confused, and they venture off. After traveling for a while, they decide to sleep in this kind of like a church tower thing. It's pretty open, but obviously you're not gonna go inside when there are zombies rolling outside in the woods. You're not going to go somewhere high. You're not going to go somewhere where they can't see you or find you or anything like that, because that would make too much sense. So you're just going to sleep out in the open pretty much and hope for the best, because that's how it works. So they're sleeping in the open. We see a zombie slowly crawling his way to them. Now, I want to take this opportunity to do another little quiz. What do you think will happen next? A, will they hear a zombie, wake up, and take care of it? B, will someone else save them? Or C, will the zombie for no reason go near the kid, ignore his legs that are right there that he can bite, get really close to his face because it's intense, quote unquote, and then get killed by the kid's mom? Which one do you think will happen? Because if you guessed C, that's correct, because these zombies just have a flair for the dramatic, and yeah, it's definitely not because it's shit writing. So after that happens, we have a shot of these 8 soldiers running down a beach. They're stranded and trying to figure out what to do next. We see them being chased by 10 infected. I did a little head count. I'm pretty sure it's 10. I could be wrong. It could be 11, but I don't think so. So these are fully armored soldiers. They have assault rifles. They have pistols. I believe they have grenades, and there's 8 of them, being chased down by 10 infecteds. So 8 soldiers with assault rifles, they have the distance, they have ammo, they have weapons, and instead of just turning around, shooting at them, and then running away when they're not being chased by a bunch of these guys, they just kind of get run down by a few of them and get picked off. But another thing that's extremely, extremely stupid is this scene where a soldier gets bit and he starts turning. And this guy is completely fine that you see on screen right now. He's looking at his friend changing, while all the while in the back, you can see infected ignoring him and just running by him for no reason other than for this scene. So they're absolutely ignoring him. He's standing there looking at his friend. His friend turns, he shoots the friend, and then after he shoots the friend, they all attack him. This movie had a budget of like $60 million. I don't know how they can do this and just get away with it. I don't understand. The soldiers later walk into a warehouse or whatever, that's where the Alpha is, and he kills them all. Nothing really important happens because we just saw them for like 2 minutes and that's about it. Our favorite duo is being chased down by the infected, and they find like a gas station / diner place where they can hide in. They enter inside only to find that there is a gas leak inside that looks like miasma. It's just kind of like floating up in the air, chilling out. I don't know for how long it's been there. I don't know why it's there. They don't really explain it at all, but you know, it's there just to be there. After the infected catch up with our duo, there's a small struggle that happens where Kid has to use a fire extinguisher to beat the zombie down because, you know, they still don't have a melee weapon or a spear or anything like that. So just as they're about to die, a hatch opens above them and we see one of the soldiers that survived before. His lights on his helmet and assault rifle in his hands. He shoots down into miasma, causing the explosion to happen, and you'd think, you know, an explosion this size would do some damage either to them or to the diner, But no, because why would that happen? This entire fire that you see on screen, this is the entire thing that gets set on fire. So you have 2 infected and 4 little scraps of fire, and that's it. Everything else is fine. The place had cups, it had curtains that we saw early on. There was stuff all over the place. Absolutely everything is fine except for this that you see on screen. I have no clue how it makes any kind of sense. Even a child could figure out that, fire bad, fire spreads. But I guess these people just didn't figure out that one yet. So, there's time, So they buddy up with a soldier, they spend some time together. They're traveling. The guy's kind of weird, and after some time they're like, let's rest and see what we're gonna do next. The soldier decides to whip out his phone, and he's like, oh, my battery is real low, but here, look at my girlfriend, to the 12-year-old boy. And the kid's like, okay, dude. And the soldier's phone dies, and what he does with it, he just throws it away. Like, he doesn't save it, hoping maybe he can make some kind of a charger, or maybe he'll find a different battery for it, or use the materials inside the phone to do something, start a fire, or even throw it to distract the infected. No, he just chucks it in the grass, and that's it, because I guess that's what trained soldiers do in later universe. And then, I think, which is the most absurd scene of the entire movie happens. Like, if you thought it's bad so far, it's only gonna get worse from here. I really don't know what's going on here. They enter a bus. I'm gonna do my best to try to describe this, because they enter a bus and they hear an infected inside. It's like groaning, and the mom goes first, obviously, because she's unarmed, and that makes sense. And she sees a pregnant, infected lady, and she's just kind of groaning and standing there. You can see she's pregnant, and it turns out she's giving birth. So the mom walks up to her. She puts out her hands like, I come in peace, or whatever. And the infected lady puts her hands into her hands. They clasp them together. And the mom helps her give birth. I have no clue why or what is going on, but yeah. And I swear to God, this poor actor at this point looked at it, he's like, what the fuck did I sign up for? Like, this movie is supposed to be good, and I'm looking at this. So the soldier pulls out a gun on them. And this is another thing I'd like to point out. You can see where he's standing right now, right? He's right next to them with a gun. He's 1 seat away. And then what happens next is, for no reason at all, he moves all the way back where the opening is, just so he can get killed by the Alpha through the roof, and the movie can progress. So he's standing there, aiming his gun, slowly walking backwards for no reason. There was no threat. There was no anything, except we need him to die. I do not understand what's going on. And after that amazing creative display, they're being chased down by the Alpha, and they run into this dude. He looks like Locke from Lost. So Locke shoots the Alpha with some kind of a tranquilizer dart. He mentions that there's a bunch of medicine and tranquilizers inside. I think morphine was one of them, but I kind of forgot about the rest. And the Alpha takes 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and becomes docile. So they continue. Now keep this in mind, because this is going to be important later on. They cross this river which has ropes as handles, which is the slowest river I have ever seen. Maybe the rope is there so he doesn't slip or something. It's fair enough, I guess. And they come into his land, which has a bunch of human skulls stacked on top of each other. He's been making monuments, because that's what he's been doing for the past 28 years. And he's the doctor that was mentioned before. So the kid kind of did what he set out to do. He got his mom to the doctors, and it turns out that the mom has cancer. So she tells him that she's in constant pain and they can't help her, and sad stuff like that happens. The kid's being kind of bummed about it, and she pretty much wants to die. So what happens is that Mr. Locke over here shoots the 12-year-old boy with a tranquilizer dart. The same tranquilizer dart that he shot the Alpha with, right? So you have this huge dude, buff monstrosity, which gets shot by tranquilizer dart. In a matter of 2 seconds or so, he instantly becomes pacified. He just kind of stands there, half dead, pun intended. Locke shoots the kid with the same amount of tranquilizer, and the kid stays awake for 3 more minutes complaining. He would 100% OD on that. If this had any thought put into it, he would have either bonked him on the head or put something in his food that was kind of weaker so the kid just falls asleep or something like that. The mom gets killed. She gets put into an oven. Her head goes up on the monument. The kid's kind of bummed about it, but he doesn't seem too bad. So he takes the baby. He goes with the baby over to the mainland. and kind of leaves the baby there while he goes off into the world. He gets chased by some infected, and he meets this guy. And at this point, when I was watching it, I thought this was some kind of a promotion for a different movie or a parody, or like the movie gets hijacked, or I honestly had no idea what's going on, because this is the worst thing I have ever seen. He shows up looking like a Gopnik crossed with like Kill Bill character, straight out of Russia, off the plane. He's got chains around his neck, he has golden rings on, got wigs, and he's like, oh, you need some help? The kid's like, yeah dude, please. And we see this crew up there, and they're kind of like copy pastes of him, and there's like Teletubbies death metal music playing in the background as they kill the infected, and it's like shitty CGI and over the top acting and over the top screaming. And yeah, I honestly have no clue who thought of this or why it's in there, but yeah, I don't know. There was like a huge amount of dong into this movie as well, which is like super unnecessary. I'm not sure why they decided to put it in, but every time you see an infected running towards them, the camera is like right in front of them with their dong flopping in your face, which is kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know.